Good morning. Welcome to a special edition of the Jeffersonian Show. I'm your host, Mr. Jefferson, and today we have two special guests. We have our station producer, Mr. DePierro, and our chairman of the broadcasting department, the chairman of the board, Mr. Pluchino.
The Godfather.
Godfather.
That's what Mr. Meyer likes to call
it. And today we're celebrating the end of an era. Since Mr. Pluchino is moving on to, I hear rumors that he's going to be the president of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's moving to Cleveland.
Perhaps he might move to one of the islands and run for King of the Islands, or something like that.
Bocce ball court, you know.
Yep.
Maybe you should be a king, John, after you retire. That would be a great.
I've got to see if there's any, employment opportunities for that king, or septic ruler or something.
Yeah, well.
So today's show is just like a free-form discussion with the three of us, celebrating Mr. Pluchino's years, doing all different kinds of things. You've done more than broadcasting.
Yeah, I have. I started out in teaching as an English teacher, but even before that, I worked for the Boy Scouts of America.
Oh.
I was public relations. I did public relations for them for 2 years. Then I substitute taught. And then I became a school teacher of English at the St. Joseph's High School in West New York, which is no longer there.
I should give you the Boy Scout salute first, shouldn't I?
Which
So
I was never a Boy
too.
Scout. I don't know how I got the job, but I was never a Boy Scout, but I wound up getting a
Well, you were an English teacher broadcasting.
Yes.
So, you're used to that, John.
Yes,
You know.
I move into positions
You're not
that I have no qualifications for. But it's worked well for me, so I can't complain.
21 years of WHIT Radio.
Yes, 21 years.
I recently finished reading, I finally got around to reading the book called The Secret. And that's some kind of thing that if you don't know what you're doing, stay in it long enough and, fake it till you make it, and you'll be all right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's The Secret. You've known The Secret decades before it was in the book.
Most people get into jobs they're not qualified for, and then they just grow into it. They learn about it, and
Well, John had a true passion for radio, and that's why he started the whole broadcasting.
Yes.
He was so interested in it. And
I know I like listening to it, and so I said, if I like listening to it, why not try and develop a career from it? So luckily, I had a boss, and I still have the same boss after 36 years.
Right.
That gave
It's
me
Mr. Gargiulo, the
Mr.
superintendent.
Gargiulo,
He was the former principal of St. Joe's.
Who gave me the opportunity and the resources to develop something like this. So, it was a right connection. And, most school systems you go into, you can't do something like this.
Right.
But we're fortunate and blessed to have the people that you need around you, like Mr. Gargiulo, Dr. Giamarella, Ms. Brancato, Joe Sarangelo. They all make it possible. So I've been very fortunate.
Well, let's go back to English teaching. Why English?
Well, got out of college with a degree in psychology.
Where did you go to college?
FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson University.
Was it in Teaneck?
Teaneck, the Teaneck campus. And then I got a job in, I got a degree in communications. So I just got a teacher's certificate in English, drama, and that's what I qualified for. I had a liberal arts education background, so it could have led into a history teacher, or it could have led into an English teacher. So I became an English teacher.
So do you find yourself liking the more dramatic part, the Shakespearean stuff, or you go for the poetry and the literature?
I like literature, and I like drama. So I can't say, I've taught Shakespeare, I can't say that I I really couldn't have gotten through it without Cliff Notes because I don't understand the language that well.
Right.
But I like the combination of literature and drama. I wasn't too much of an X and O teacher, and I wasn't an X and O teacher here. Like grammar and composition, I found that very tedious and very detail-oriented. Yeah. But literature I liked, and I liked the drama part. Actually, Mr. DePierro was one of my students.
Yeah, I was going to reveal that secret.
Back there. Yeah. Oh, you're going to reveal that. I spoiled that for you. But
I'm somewhat of a John Pluchino historian.
Right.
In a way. I've known John for a while.
So,
yeah, he was my high school English teacher, and he was a great teacher, a lot of fun. And yeah, he was really into like American literature. I remember he wanted us to be exposed to all those great pieces. And
do you remember any of them?
Wow, John.
One of my favorite books was Aldous Huxley, Brave New World.
Brave New World.
I used to teach. That was my signature literature piece. Yeah. And yeah, people come up to me, even ex-students from former students, I won't call them ex, and they said, "Remember Brave New World? Remember Brave New World?" But I thought that was a great book for today.
Did you get into Thoreau and
yes,
and
I
Emerson?
taught Walden and Emerson. Yes.
You know, it's amazing how subversive those things really are. When you peel back the surface, when you get past the standard thing about you have to read it and it's American literature and all this other stuff. When you really get into the sinews and muscles of it, it's really subversive.
Yeah, it
it's overthrow the government kind of stuff.
Right.
So. It's amazing how that's taught, and that's endorsed by the government because it's so anti-government.
Right. Well, Catcher in the Rye. Yeah. I mean, Salinger. That's subversive if you get into it. You know, good literature challenges you.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be the mainstream thought, or else it wouldn't be really considered a great piece of work. So literature challenges us, and it should. It makes us broadens our horizons.
So tell us, Mr. DePierro.
Yes.
How did you get here?
I got here. Okay, so I graduated high school. Kept in touch with Mr. Pluchino. Found out that he did come down to the Hudson County Vocational School, as it was known back then. I guess it changed to Hudson Technical, or.
Well, it was a vocational school, then it became a technical school, more or less. When I came, it was just kind of going into the computer age.
Right.
But when I came here, it was plumbing and electricity. It was more of masonry. It was more of what they call dirty trade school. Yeah. So when I was coming...
And he opened up the broadcasting department, and he said, you got to come down here, check out all this great equipment that we had. And he knew I was interested in the business. And I took his first broadcasting class, and I have a diploma.
You have a diploma?
Yeah, it's in my
you got to
office.
bring that in. You have to bring that in for Wednesday. Bring that in if you can find it.
I know exactly.
That would be great.
School.
For one semester, John, or
something like that.
Yeah.
I had when I started here, they had a post-secondary program in the morning, so an adult program, and Mr. DePierro was, I believed, in the first year of that.
And that was back when this place was very, very small in terms of population.
Yes, and it was a share time, mostly a share time school. And in the morning we had post-secondary. And I taught a broadcasting class. I had a cable TV show at the time at Union City.
JP's Place?
JP's Place, which...
The set is still
there.
You used to do something with Tedesco's, right?
I never did anything with Tedesco's, but there was a cable show from Tedesco's. I wasn't part of that.
I have this vague memory of being a child and flipping through the stations and seeing that and recognizing that was Tedesco's.
Yeah.
Because I'd been there with my parents to eat dinner and all this stuff at a fancy Italian restaurant. And I could have sworn, this is crazy, I must have seen you in the restaurant when I was maybe like 8 or 9 years old.
Really?
Yeah. So I've got this crazy memory in the back of my head of seeing your face.
That's
crazy
strange.
how
that's strange.
25 years later, things just fit together.
Yeah. Well, I only been. I think I've been there 2 or 3 times in recent memory, and so it must have been one of those times. But they had a show. The owners had a show, and they had karaoke, and it was kind of like a variety potpourri, local community people, and it was a fun show, you know. But I wasn't really.
It always reminded me of like the Lawrence Welk show.
Oh, Tedesco show, yeah.
They had the softest, you know, polka dancing stuff.
Right.
They didn't have, you know, rock and roll.
No.
They had
Lawrence Welk wasn't known, and Lawrence Welk and Elvis Presley weren't one and the same. They were. Lawrence Welk was, you know, the champagne music, as he would call it.
Yeah.
A 1 and a 2. I remember watching that Saturday nights with my parents. Had it on. I don't even think they really liked it, but it was, you know, it was very safe music at the time. Family music, you know, wholesome family music.
You could film him from the hips up.
Yeah, right. You didn't have to worry about him gyrating.
Yeah, with Elvis, you couldn't. Yeah, I just found out that when Link Ray's Rumble was first put on the radio, it was banned because it was so sexually suggestive.
Okay.
The song itself is an instrumental, and it's just one of those iconic instrumentals. And the song was banned because it's suggestive.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that goes toward that whole everyone fears Elvis because he's going to destroy the control that parents have over that generation.
Right.
And the system's all about control.
He was very threatening to the status quo at that time. So they would just film him a lot of times from the waist up. They wouldn't they wouldn't film him from the waist down. So
So what appealed about radio with you, Chris?
Wow. Well, you know, I'm an actor also, and you know, I don't mind being in front of a camera or a microphone if I'm somewhat prepared to do it.
Right.
But I always throughout high school and everything, and then John was like, you know, have this great facility and this great equipment. First time I was in front of a teleprompter was with Mr. Pluchino, and you know, I was totally interested. I was thinking about doing my own show and different ways. Then YouTube came out, and then it was just like, let's make videos. And then that's when I got back in touch kind of with John. About 4 years ago, I came down. I was a guest on one of your shows, the LMM show. Lizette.
I know what show it was. An afternoon show. It was the peanut butter and jelly show or something like that. Lizette and Blaine, I think.
I remember her, Blaine Morris.
Blaine Morris was on it, and Mr. DePierro was and actually, at the closing of St. Joe's, I bumped into him too. He was filming. Remember they had that open house when St. Joe's was closing. And you were filming back then. Yeah,
they let us do a walkthrough of the school before they kind of closed it permanently to the public.
So Chris was filming,
and that's where we kind of reconnected. Also, So there were times, and you know, I was you know, working for NBC TV, so I was having experience, you know, in TV studios and just out, and then came down here and they had the radio station, the TV station, and
so it was good. You know, we've had a connection, really. You know, he's been, you know, he's kind of been like protege, yeah. I don't know if I've mentored him any in a great way, but you know, we have similar interests. He's a movie maker. He has a movie now in the Garden State competition. What is it
Film
called?
Festival.
Film Festival called Miami or Bust, a Hoboken Bet.
John, you got it right.
Finally got it right. After him telling me it for 3 years. But,
we're going to have to promote the hell out of that.
And yeah, really, it's a great film and very entertaining. A lot of great characters in it. But he's also on Tony and Tina's Wedding, which I finally saw last year. He invited me for a lot of fun. And so he's had a lot of experiences with that, and he's written some plays, and this movie is really a very
but if you go back a little bit further in John's career, John was an actor also, and a drummer in the Pyramids, John's rock and roll band.
I remember we briefly hit upon that during one of the Two Johns and a Joe episodes years ago about stuff from the 60s with the pyramids, with
the pyramids. Great, legendary group. No,
yeah,
but
certainly a cool name.
yeah, cool name. The
And
pyramids.
in the 60s, that's all that mattered.
Right.
Yeah.
I had great names, the Birds,
The Birds.
the Doors.
The Doors.
Yeah, the one
That's another
word.
Aldous Huxley thing,
The
the Doors of
Beatles,
Perception.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And
That's right.
very clever with the Beatles, with the B-E-A-T.
Right,
The Beat Beatles.
Took me years to figure that out. That was more the beat.
Yeah.
I was looking at it, I was like, why the Beatles? And I knew it was spelled differently, but I'm like, why would they call themselves like a little bug? And then I was like, wait, beat, the drum.
Right.
Genius.
Yeah.
It went from idiots
I think
to
they
genius.
were called the Silver Beatles first, and
Yeah.
then they just dropped to Silver. And then the drummer, the original drummer, Pete Best,
Yeah.
I think a couple of years was playing in local clubs in Jersey. He had his own band. But talk about somebody that had bad timing.
Yeah.
I mean, they got,
This band is going nowhere. I'm leaving. I'm getting off the
Well,
Titanic.
they jettisoned him.
He got off the Titanic.
I
and
heard
then-
he was too good looking.
Yeah,
That's the
he
same,
was too good.
Same
He was
reason they threw you out of the
Yeah,
band,
that
John.
was it. They said,
Both drummers.
They're both drummers. They just got me out.
And it's like Spinal Tap,
Spinal
just
Tap,
get another one.
Yeah. But they wanted Ringo, and it turned out to be a good move, personality-wise, and he was a perfect drummer for that group. You didn't need a virtuoso drummer. You needed somebody that could keep a good, solid beat.
You didn't need Keith Moon.
No, you didn't need Keith Moon on the Beatles or Ginger Baker. You didn't need it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have worked. But Chris was here from the beginning of actually this school, and I think it just started as high tech. They started that up in '92, I think, when I came over. I was 2 years in Jersey City teaching dramatics, and then I went to Mr. Gargiulo and said I'd like to do something like this. That's because I had a cable TV show, so it was just really an extension of that cable TV show. We developed the program around.
How did you get the cable TV show?
I interned there. I got an internship back in the mid-'80s.
Now,
I
this
went
was
back to school.
When Cablevision was on Park Avenue in Weehawken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of behind-the-scene work for a while, and then an opening came up. I said, let me give a shot in front of the camera. Had some presentational skills I developed through teaching. So it was just, and I kept on doing it now for almost 30 years. So in some form or another.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was on the show? Was it like a variety show or a talk show? Or?
Yeah, pretty much a community variety show. A lot of people I found interesting, or people would come up to me and say, this guy's doing this or that. Mm-hmm. I get him on the show, and then I had the songwriter, the president of ASCAP, I believe, on the show. He wrote What a Wonderful World and Are You Lonely Tonight for Elvis. So I had him on the show a couple of times, and I had handwriting analysis people and magicians and hypnotists and artists and a lot of musicians. So I had a wide variety, politicians, state senators, that kind of thing, mayors.
Thinking about it, I can't think of, that certainly doesn't exist on TV anymore, where you have that kind of wide variety with maybe like The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
But with the radio, the closest parallel that I can find is like a Howard Stern. Because he doesn't just cater to one audience. He'll have all different kinds of people on his shows. Yeah. So you were like the Howard Stern without the
without the money.
Raunchiness.
Without the money. Howard Stern without the money. But I just whoever found interesting, or a lot of people that I knew would come up to me and say, "Hey, John, this guy's good," or wants to be on. And of course, there was a lot of politicians and state senators that wanted to be on because it was free promotion for them, and so we had a lot of that. But I tried to get every aspect of the community involved, and a few people outside the community from New York City, or like this guy George Weiss, who died a couple of years ago. He was in Time magazine. They had a thing on him. when he passed away. Some famous people, or so it was a lot of fun. I was telling Mr. DePierro the only thing I didn't like was trying to coordinate it because I was in Union City at the time, and these people had other jobs to do, and my guests would come late, or my co-hosts would come late, and then they'd be giving me the evil eye, and I said, they'll be here any minute, and I'd be on the phone, and, by the time you do the show, your stomach's in knots, so...
Plus, you have a full-time job, too.
Yeah, so...
There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, so it got a lot more relaxed when we brought it down here. I think I did it in Union City West New York, Weehawken for about 7 or 8 years. And then we brought it here. JP's Place became JP's Place Teen Forum, so we had a lot of kids on, and then Teen Forum became Super's Corner. And then Super's Corner, I think we've been doing for 6 or 7 years, 6 years maybe, with the superintendent.
And the final one is coming, John.
Final one is coming on Wednesday. We're going to have all the people that were either on JP's Place, as many as I can get, Super's Corner, or JP's Place Teen Forum. Yeah. We'll have them on, and we'll talk a little bit with them and have a final show. So that should be fun. Yeah. Yeah. So, cool. It's been a great way to earn a living. I can't think of a better way to earn a living. It's a lot of fun, and what it's been is a great collaboration with the teachers, with the people in the community, with the students. It's been a lot of very interesting, and it just broadens you out. And I hope that I'm going to make this one thing. I hope the radio station continues into the new school, and I think it's a great learning laboratory, and it's a great place for people to collaborate and get their ideas out, and I just think they should include it in their plans. So that's my little pitch. But
with all the stuff that you've done and that the department's been able to do in 20 years, it's like you've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
You've got these team shows, you've got sports shows, you've got talk shows, you've got this great potential, and it's just a little tiny scratch on the surface. Behind there is the entire universe.
Sure.
There's all different kinds of... we have a crisis in America today with college students that get to college and need remediation.
Yeah.
How about remedial radio shows? How about math helpline or something like that?
Sure.
That'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
How about original programming with students doing performances? We have quite a few people, like Carlos Acosta plays in the band.
Yeah.
We could put the...
It's unlimited. It's you can go in. Yesterday, Mr. DePierro put on a rap show. We had 7 or 8 kids in here doing their rap to a beat, and never saw that. I've been here. And it was good. It was entertaining. Just had to worry about some of the lyrics, but
they were good.
They were good, and I said to Mr. DePierro, "You got another show here, so it can go in a million different directions. It's unlimited. It really
There's
is."
no reason to end it just because we moved to Seekonkus.
Yeah.
Because you could have the original programming stuff, or then you could have the support services.
Yeah.
You could have the English help hour or the math help hour. And there's a big demand for that stuff.
Right.
Especially as this place gets bigger and bigger, there's going to be more and more people that need that.
You have a 24/7 calendar, or a weekly calendar fill up with programming, so you can have any type of programming you want. You really don't have to worry about the ratings because we don't have advertising. So if only 3 people watch the show, it's okay. Yeah. But of course, I believe Meyerville is our all-time champion with 500 plus hits, which I don't know how accurate that was, but
I think I figured it out because I think that he was able to refresh the cookies on his computer, so he can click, then hit refresh, click again, hit refresh. Yeah, you can watch the same thing 200 times and it registers.
I wouldn't put that out of the realm of possibility. But,
he did have a segment of his show picked up on an internet site.
Yeah.
He did a rant on Mike Francesa, and they took it and they put it on their site.
Yeah.
And that's the one that has, I think, the 500 hits.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's considerably.
We kind of criticized Mike Francesa,
Yeah.
and somebody picked that up, and then I guess people started listening to that. But it's an interesting show. He's a talent.
Yeah.
I wish he had done more this last year or so. But there's a lot of talent in this school, and Jeffersonian's a great show, that flagship show that we've had, delving into the historical problems, current events. It's been a great addition to WHIT Radio.
And it's amazing how small this world is.
Yeah.
That Chris was your student.
Yeah.
I went to college with Mr. Meyer.
Yeah.
And we had the same film classes, believe it or not.
Right. Small world.
Yeah.
Small world.
And it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And there's just this. This is the greatest place in the world to work.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's the freedom and the emphasis on creativity and collaboration really, I think, set this school apart. It's more like a college atmosphere than a high school. And I've taught in a lot of places, and this is really, wherever your interests go, you're able to develop here, and that's the emphasis, and that's why Business Insider, a very prestigious magazine, 21 out of all the high schools in the country, we came out 21st.
Yeah.
If that was just in New Jersey, that would be impressive, but in the United States, come on, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So I think it's the culture of where we are.
See, and the reason for that 21st in the country is just as much to do with having an audiovisual, broadcasting and a TV department and a music department, as much as it is with having, top-notch math.
Strong academics, right?
When I went to high school, we didn't have calculus. We didn't have seniors graduated with pre-calculus, and that was it. We didn't have advanced placement courses.
Excellent faculty. Excellent.
Now we've got, AP calculus, BC, the most prestigious course in all of AP that we have now.
Yeah.
We have such a big demand. So it's just everything is getting better and better and better and more prestigious.
And I would just say all this core curriculum and PARC is necessary, but a school that's very successful like this one should not be restricted by a ton of testing. If you're doing good, leave it alone, or just have a limited amount of testing and all this stuff. If it's doing poorly and it needs to be remediated, of course, stronger measures are needed. But if you're doing good, if it don't work. If it works, don't fix it. So that's the way.
It's funny you mentioned that. I spent 2 days explaining to my students about what test is on what day at what time and how to get through the schedule, and I kept saying, this test is not going to be any different than the old HESPA tests.
Yeah.
It was never designed for you. It was designed for other lower achieving places. So you can't get out of it. You can't opt out. If you don't do well, you can do substitutes. You can take a 400 on the SAT and put that in for a lousy math score. But take this as a challenge. See that this is somebody's way of seeing how much you know, how well you can do.
Right.
If you can do well, then ace it. Prove to the state that you don't need it.
Right.
By getting hundreds rather than trying to have a sick out and have zeros.
Right.
That's it's always
I
been
just
the way
think
with
there's
high
too
tech.
much testing, period.
It's gotten worse than that. Now there's 6 weeks of it.
Finland. There's 2 great school systems in the world, many, but Finland's one of them. They hardly do any testing.
Yeah.
And they hardly have any, they don't stress homework. But, they have a community that supports everybody, and they pay the teachers like they pay doctors.
Yeah.
So you get the top people. And that's how you get a good school system.
I have to thank you in a tangential way.
Yeah.
When I was on the Super's Corner with you and the superintendent, we talked about Alfie Cohn's book about homework.
Yeah.
And I did some investigating into Alfie Cohn, and I found a book about unconditional parenting.
Right.
And now that I've got a 2-year-old daughter, it's opened my eyes to things. So I have to thank you for that, for turning me on to Alfie Cohn.
Right.
So,
it's just a matter of, I think a lot of students don't do well because they're just not centered. They're not grounded. And they come into your classroom and their mind's going 800 different directions. And I'm a very strong believer in meditation, and I think schools should have some sort of a calming program or a meditation program, because a lot of these kids, we have AIS students now have been integrated with high-tech students. A lot of the students that are doing poorly, what I've noticed in common is their minds are going in 800 different directions. Not that they're not intelligent or they're not able to do the work, they're just not calm. They're not grounded. So I think that's something that all schools should look into, and I know some have. So, big, strong believer in meditation. I do it, but I mean, just some sort of calming 5 minutes a day where the kids can calm their minds. I think you will see great results from that.
I've been thinking about, with the Finland and America comparison with this stuff, and justifying the need for standardized testing to compete with the other countries. I'm not so sure that I buy the idea that America should compete. We should just be America. Mm-hmm. Everyone else has always been trying to be America for the past 150 years. Mm-hmm. So why are we trying to be Finland?
No, we shouldn't be Finland. And I think there's too much emphasis on where is the student going to get a job? Where is the student going to fit in? Where is the student, what job is the student going to get? Right. Instead of the opposite, the job will find that student. We should be focused on the individuality of the student, developing the person. Yeah. That job will find that person, not that we've got a pigeonhole or chicken hole students into certain jobs. I never liked that template for education.
That's the true meaning of liberal arts, because that's the old Renaissance model of education, that you should have something that's perhaps 10 miles wide and 2 feet deep, rather than 3 feet wide and 10 miles deep.
Right.
You could be a specialist later on after you become a generalist. Right. Because the specialists, say the PhD in English, having gone through all of the steps to get there, can still have a conversation about art, can still have a conversation about sculpture, can still have a conversation about sports or the mechanics of the body, biology, physics, things like that. To be a specialist seems to be the goal at the end of the career rather than at the beginning of the career.
I'm a perfect example of what I just talked about, because I developed my job. There wasn't a job description, become a radio broadcasting teacher. It didn't exist. It really didn't exist. So I developed a job. I was lucky enough to have the right people and the resources. So I think you develop yourself first, your individuality, and that job will find you. Follow your interests, develop your individuality, develop your mind. I don't like the template of what's this person's is good in this. Well, he'll become an accountant. This person's good in this, lawyer. You're too stupid. You'll never be a lawyer. You'll be this occupation. I think that's debilitating.
That's one of the things that makes this such a great place to work. Almost all the people who are on staff as teachers weren't born to be teachers and followed that career path from college. They've, like I did, backed into this from other careers. Right.
And most teachers came in from other careers. Most teachers didn't start out to be teachers. Yeah. A few did, I want to be a teacher, but most of them kind of found it through a circuitous route.
Our kids are so blessed because they have the benefit of seeing what we've been able to do and see that, here's what to expect when you get out of school. Yeah. Rather than I've never had another job. I've just been a teacher from the time that you finish college. Right. Your last day of college is your first day of teaching. Well, what's life like if I want to be a physicist in a lab? What if I want to be a chemist? What's life like with that? What if I want to do producing jobs with NBC? You know,
Right.
what can I expect with that?
Well, Mr. DePierro has worked
Yeah.
in NBC for 13 years, and
So he totally
and,
fits the high-tech profile where
right.
he'll
That's it.
start. Yeah.
I got to 15 years. I said, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I can't take it anymore.
15.
You know, it's the long hours, and
You weren't very creative. You didn't feel very creative in the job.
right.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely wanted to do other things than
Yeah.
work 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. editing, and you know, half of that time or 3/4 of that time you're just waiting and waiting and waiting,
Yeah.
and you can't leave. And I worked nights for a long time, and I liked the nights. But once they put me on days, I couldn't take it, and then naturally, it just that
Yeah.
door opened for me, and I became a substitute. And then they said,
Yeah.
you should become certified. I'm like, well, what do you do? And you know,
Yeah.
they just guided me along. And next thing I know,
Yeah.
I'll be taking over the
Yeah.
broadcasting station.
Well, tell us,
from
what
Miss McKean.
exactly do you do? What is the path to get from college to broadcasting instructor?
I didn't go to college for broadcasting. I went for communications, but public relations and interpersonal communications. You know, and I always wanted to be an actor, and you know, I had to go to college and get a degree. It was just, you know.
Where did you go to college?
I went to 3 state colleges. I started in Ramapo. I went to Fairleigh, and I graduated from William Patterson.
Ah.
And yeah, and I sat behind a desk for a year, and I said I can't do that. And then I got into video, and I was kind of like a 27-year-old intern at a post-production house in Manhattan, and I worked there for free for 2-3 months, and then they hired me. And 2 years after that, I was a videotape avid editor, and because I had all the equipment, and we used to just go up there and you know, fool around. And next thing I know, I taught myself basically how to do it. And then we had people working NBC, and they were like, they need avid editors. And it was just at that time where avid editors were needed. It was just breaking. So they were like, well, we have somebody. And I just walked in. And they were like, thank God. And I just started editing. Next thing I know, I'm contracted editor for NBC. And I was like, oh, my God. I was just doing nothing 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, you push yourself. You learn on your own as much as you can. And then you just wait for, you know, hopefully a door opens, or you just network and you work
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
people. And that's how I got into here.
Yeah.
You know?
Things fall into place.
Yeah.
That's the industry, really. Be prepared for the opening,
Right.
and do the networking. They don't put the job in the newspaper usually. So
Yeah, word of
it's
mouth.
just being at the right place at the right time, but also being prepared when that opportunity comes. So knowing your stuff, you know. So knowing.
So I have 2 final questions.
Yeah.
First for Mr. Pluchino.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Well, everybody's been asking me that, but little shuffleboard, bocce ball, no. I'm going to, you know, move. I'm looking for a place to move, probably in South Jersey. Maybe teaching in community college or something, part-time. Also working on, my wife and I write children's books, so maybe working on another children's book. We
That
have
is so cool.
one published called The Whimpering Bush.
Yeah.
So it's out there. And then my wife's a recording artist, and she's has an album out, so I might be helping her promote that.
You could be production manager on a
Be
world tour.
a
The Mrs.
promotion thing.
Pluchino World Tour.
Yeah.
I know a radio
And-
station that you could do a little publicity on, John.
Right,
WHIT. if you wanna
right.
I
come
think
on.
there's a theater across the street here.
And if I'm in a 55-plus community somewhere, you might hear me on Ustream with a new show. I don't know, but I'll try to keep active. But I'm going to pursue I'm lucky enough to be able to pursue what I'm interested in. And I'm going to follow my interests and write another chapter of my life, hopefully, and reinvent myself a little bit. And I look forward to still being in touch with you guys, and,
Well, definitely.
and yeah,
Wherever you go, you gotta
yeah.
give
I'm
us
gonna
your address. We can come by
hopefully
and
I'm not gonna fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
I'll be around, or I'll be connecting with you guys.
You'll be
and,
on our advisory
I'll
committee.
be on the advisory committee.
We're going to try and get
and,
Skype working, and we
yeah.
can Skype John in
Yeah,
sometimes.
Skype in,
or
and
even FaceTime.
Yeah.
FaceTime, and I'll be around, and I hope not to move off the face of the earth here, but you know, it definitely looks like I'm going to be moving a little south from here, so I'll be doing that mainly because the prices are so much better. About an hour and a half from here, but
Tell me about it.
yeah, and we know John and I have been talking about that, how how difficult it is to buy something around here.
He's going south, I'm going west.
He's going west, he's in the
Oh,
south.
man.
So, but I'll see. Hopefully, my interest will take me where I need to go. So I'm lucky enough to be able to go that direction right now. Until our governor takes away our pensions, I don't know if that's going to be. I hope he doesn't do that. I don't think he wants to do that. But you need to pay into the pension system. Don't keep to your word. That's what I would say.
So, our last question is for Mr. DePierro.
Oh.
So, what happens now?
Wow. So we're going to carry on John's 21 years now of if I have anything to do with it, of course, we're going to continue WHIT Radio.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything that it was going to stop.
Right.
We might throw the word podcasting in there, just to upgrade.
That's a huge deal these days. There's Podcast One, and there's Podbean, and all different kinds of different things. Famous artists have huge audiences.
Yeah. There's a lot of websites that just accept, video files, shows, and you upload them, and they'll put them on and see what happens with them.
Yeah.
So we have our own YouTube station channel, so we upload onto there.
Just keep on
I
developing
think I want to
it.
paint the place, John. I told you a year and a half ago I'm going to paint the place.
Black.
So black and purple.
Black and purple.
Black and purple.
With a little, what do you call those?
Laser cat.
What do you call from the 70s? They had those
Lava lamps.
lava lamps, and
Yeah.
what else? The blue lights.
Oh, we can
or
have
The black light
the black
post.
lights, and
the John Pluchino Disco Lounge.
disco lounge.
We'll definitely have we'll definitely put a picture up of John somewhere.
Right.
You know.
I'll probably leave something around for me, but remember me. But
We've got to dedicate something to John Pluchino.
Yes.
Some kind of like John Pluchino control room or closet or something.
Yeah.
John Pluchino world
John
headquarters.
Pluchino closet. I like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, but Mr. DePierro will take it to the next step and next stage of this, and hopefully when there is a new school, and I'm sure there will be. I've been hearing it now for about 6 years, but it looks like it's coming. The funds are starting to dribble in, but he'll take it to the next step and the next stage, and hopefully to the next school. And who knows what new technologies out there that can make this even more. In the future, can make this having more of a reach, more of an impact. And I think one of the major problems I've always had with the course is to get people to listen to the shows.
Yeah.
I think that's an integral part of making this program successful, is that these shows need to be listened to, and there needs to be feedback. And that's always been a challenge. So I think Mr. DePierro probably will address that, and we'll get more of a listenership. And then once you get listenership, you don't even have to recruit for the program because the kids want to be here. And I just know when one or two people call into a show, what it does to the whole energy and morale of that show. Just a phone call means that somebody's listening and makes all the difference. So that's always been a challenge here, and I think once that's in place and people are listening, you don't have to worry about enrollment. It just will. You probably just have to be selective at that point.
Oh, that'd be a nice position to be in.
Yeah, it's selective.
We'll have auditions.
Auditions like the performing arts, right? We will have auditions to come in here.
So I've always said this is one of the coolest things about coming here, and probably the greatest major, the greatest vocation that you can do, because there's no limits on this. So when I have younger kids that come up to me and say, well, I don't really like science. What can I do? I don't really want to be musical theater. What can I do? And I tell them, you know what? Be a broadcasting major.
Right.
It's endless amounts of fun.
Yeah.
There are few restrictions. There's not like with science where you have a formula and you fill the formula. Like it's very,
regimented.
Mathematical, spatial learning stuff with the with all that stuff with Gardner's multiple intelligences.
Right.
This is all just artistic. Just fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Which we just did.
Yeah,
And we just proved that this works all the time.
Really, it's a great learning laboratory, as I said before.
Yeah.
You can even do shows on math, and people say, "How can you do shows?" Well, famous mathematicians. Let's talk about Isaac Newton. Let's talk about. I'm not familiar with a lot of them, but bring in a famous math, Euclid or something. And
That's the thing about getting rid of students' anxieties. Instead of being like the stereotypical teacher from, how the movies put it, where you have the drill instructor and then you have the cadets.
Yeah.
Touch them in a figurative sense, in a mental sense. Get in their heads, find out what they like,
Right.
and then give it to them.
Yeah.
Give them something behind the scenes. What I find that works for me, and I know it works for you, is when you explain why something is important, then people put their guards down and they buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
They have skin in the game. Okay, this makes sense. This is not just, okay, we're going from A to B to C. Why? Well, shut up and do it.
Right.
No, it's here's why to do
Right.
it. And with shows like math, you get into why is this important?
Why is it important?
What does it mean to me? What can I do? How is it relevant to me?
How is it relevant?
Yeah.
And I know just lecturing in front of the room, you have a certain relationship with students in that kind of dimension or that kind of formula. When they get into radio, you have a whole different way of relating to them, and it's in a closer, more intimate way, and you get to really know them as people. I think Mr. DePierro might bear me out on this. You really develop a close working relationship with the students, other than take the test, raise your hand, hand in the book report. You're actually working
it's a little
with
bit
them.
more personal.
Yeah.
You really work with the kids and,
you get to know
have
them.
conversations with them and know where they're coming from
Right.
and find what they're interested in. And,
Right.
See, kids need that because kids get
Yeah.
stuck in the same stereotypes that it's
Right.
just, I'm powerless, I sit in this
Yeah,
seat,
right.
I'm a number, no one knows my name. I sit here and I'm forced to go through this journey. They throw tests at me,
Right.
they throw the standardized test at me, they throw the requirements at me, I've got to do this, that, and that, jump through hoops to get to
Right.
the end, and then they kick me out and I'm not prepared.
Right.
Here with our kids, we love them so much that we want more for them than they even know that they want
Most
for
of them.
themselves.
Most of them. Now, we really care about the kids here.
Yeah.
We form personal relationships, connections with them, and nothing's really more personal than something like this. You really get to know the kids. You work with them. You collaborate them almost as a team. You're developing a team atmosphere, and it's and a lot of my students, like Mr. DePierro, you become lifelong friends with them. You have goes beyond them graduating. I keep in touch with a lot of ex-students, former students, not ex. They'll always be your students, but they're no longer in your class. But it's just very personal, and it's very. I find it effective. When I lecture, sometimes people with insomnia have been cured, and I'm struggling with it a lot of times. But in the radio station, it's I find that I can get into my zone better, and be more effective. So maybe deep down that's why I developed it in the first place. But the zone is there. So.
Well, from speaking just from my own personal perspective, I've had such a great time working with you over the years, doing the
vice versa,
Jeffersonian shows, the Two Johns and a Joe,
Two Johns
the
and a
eclectic
Joe
stuff. Just sitting and talking to you and learning from you. It's been a privilege to be your friend for these years.
Thank you.
And I love you, and I wish you all the success in the world and all the best.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you on Wednesday with our open house for the JP's Place and Super's Corner, and hope you see you on February 11th also. Urban Plumber, wherever.
Yeah, sounds like a great party, Joe.
Yeah, it sounds like a great.
I'm not missing that one,
well,
boy.
I can get my wife to come. That would be a plus. But thank you guys. I love working with both of you. It's been a real pleasure, and listen to WHIT.
Yeah.
This has been a special edition of the Jeffersonians on WHIT Radio, WHITradio.org. See you down the road.
All right.